And okay, hello everyone to the next working group Knative integration meeting. Let's start with actions from previous meeting, and this one is on me. Do you see my screen? First question.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first action is on me. For last 2 weeks, there was a proposal about how Knative will be installed. And this proposal wasn't rejected, so I assume it is accepted. And after the meeting, unless someone raises a concern, I will remerge it and also the code related to it. Does anyone have any questions regarding this topic?
Nope.
Okay, so if not, thank you very much. And let's move to the first point from the agenda. And Ahmed, the stage is yours.
Thanks. So as you probably know, there was multiple face-to-face meetings arranged for Knative working groups. And we were basically interested to join the eventing one. The eventing group had people from Red Hat, of course, with Google, Red Hat, Pivotal, IBM, VMware. Yeah, mainly these. There were also a couple of guys attending from Bloomberg, who have a team with a data pipeline for machine learning pipeline, and also Derek Collison, the founder of Nets, also was attending. The agenda, I can add the agenda meeting notes there to your agenda. Basically, I believe that there were different interests as output from that meeting. So from Google side, they wanted to push forward on the topic of event sources, and because for them, when they switched from the old API to the new one, they had, let's say, they had a specific proposal for the new API that from their side will support event sources and will support operations or performing some sort of pipelines on top of these operations for the event sources. But also from Pivotal, Pivotal had a different opinion about it specifically, and there was lots of discussion there. And the agreement was, okay, let's start with something which is, let's say, the basic aligned on baseline of how this API should look like, which is the one that is currently available. And from there on, they were saying that probably on the face-to-face meeting, we will need to discuss and ask how things are going. Did things go well? All these did the people start playing around with event sources, and does the current API satisfy everybody, and something like that. That was their main from their point of view. That was their main points they wanted to get out of that. However, the discussion went a bit different. So big part of the discussion took place about the current channels and whether or not they want to have stuff like event types as something that is related to the sources, or there were ideas also from Mark Fisher from Pivotal about having that as part of the related to the channels themselves and differently. And in all cases, it was clear that everybody has his own interpretation of what the Knative eventing need to support. Everybody had different ideas of or different interpretation of what is an event source, for example. Some of them had an idea that it's something very dynamic. Some had ideas that it's strongly typed with some event types and stuff like that. And as an action item out of the long discussion there was that we need to work on our event sources, our use cases, sorry. So the first action item, which also was followed up upon yesterday on the eventing working group meeting, is that there need to be people working on the use cases. From their side, they had someone from the product joining there, and they asked also from different companies to have someone who works on use cases for these base use cases, I would say. The other items there is there was also discussion about the container source, which is a generic source for containers that probably have like a generic webhook containers, I would say. So in that way, you can have a webhook source that you can deploy based on different Docker images, and every Docker image just needs a configuration. What is the webhook that it needs to pull from, and then it will work to publish those events. The action item was to also demo that one, and they did that yesterday on the working group. So also you can check that one there. There were different action items you can see there, but they were not followed up on so far. Stuff like we also need to figure out how can we propagate the metadata from the source to the channels, whether this metadata will be typed or strongly tightly coupled to the source or be configurable. All these things were later discussed. For me, what was interesting is that it seems that everybody is almost doing the same. So almost everybody there has a FAS platform of some sort. Have IBM OpenWhisk, Pivotal with their ref, and which commercial is called, I think, FPS. Red Hat with the OpenShift something integration, something on top of OpenShift specifically. Everybody, even VMware guys, so the guy who contributed the Kafka, the new Kafka channel provisioner, he actually was in VMware working in the platform that is, let's say, similar to Kyma, their fast offering. And once they discovered Knative, they said, okay, the people who are working on the lower layer will stop working on the product. They will work on Knative itself, and will even preach Knative inside VMware. So he focused totally his work on Knative. That was interesting. The other also part is that they are very open to people contributing and joining their work. So they are really eager to have people joining. All what we need to do is just figure out something that we want to do there. Talk to them on Slack, attend the working group meeting, and just join, contribute. And as also we already have an approval for contributions from our side on our private time as Kyma developers. We just need to align what do we need to do, and that's it. So this is also part that was probably very interesting. At the end, it seems that also was shared on the meeting internally with the Villa that the production Knative is probably not going to be around until around July 2019 or Q3 2019. That's when they will have what is probably a production Knative. That's all. Any questions?
Yep, I have one question. Do you have any link to share about this discussion where it is summarized?
Yeah. Yep.
Can you add it to event note, meeting notes?
Yep. I will do that.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay, that's all.
Okay. Any more question to Ahmed? Okay, if there are not, I suggest we move to the next topic on the agenda. This one is anonymous. Can someone who wrote it down?
That is from me.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Your stage is yours.
okay, so basically, I want to see that I was looking at what images we are using currently, and we discovered that the version of the images that we are using for both serving and eventing, it is something that's a bit older than what, for example, Radu built based on his pull request for this NAT streaming based provisioner. So for now, we can of course upgrade the images, but I think going further, we need to maybe come up with a strategy that how we should decide on the upgrading the images and what all things we need to take care of that. So it's not a big topic, but I think this might be an important thing for us as we target the future releases of Kyma. So definitely we need to update first thing currently now to the version where we can have this NAT streaming provisioner compatible images, and then after that maybe periodic upgrades. So this is a kind of open question for me, but I think we should have some kind of action item and then maybe come up with a strategy to address this part.
Shimon, you are muted.
Okay, so for now, we need to. I guess we need a new version of Knative for Radu's work, right? Because we need this
Yeah.
NATS event source. So there would need we'll not just need to bump the version, I guess, but we would also need to prepare some proposal how we would decide on bumping Knative in the future and how we'll do it. That's what you're talking about.
Yes, and the other thing is I also discovered that the actual provisioner images are also currently not there on the GCR. So maybe we need to figure out that maybe along with Radu that how we can first of all put them there, and then we should be able to reach a state that we can use them in the Kyma eventing.
Okay, so so images with nuts are not yet there.
Not yet there, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Is
Radu
there
is speaking
anyone?
something. So Radu want to say something, but for some reason he's on mute.
Now,
Okay, yeah, now we can hear you. Radu,
till
please.
now, the application has the duty to get the real version of the Knative eventing and also all the other stuff. So that for to work on this POC for SAP, I have got an intermediate version which is working, for eventing and also for the controller part and all this stuff which are coming from Kubernetes. But we will see. And for Kyma, we have to agree that we will test our Knative integration version and then we will install it. It's our duty to get to see that all is working till now, because I think the next release is planned someone at the end of the February. It is 03 from eventing.
Okay, maybe Radu, you're willing to.
03 is gonna be on 8th January.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
That if nobody will had objection against merging it.
Oh, then it's good. Okay. Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Radu, so maybe you want to drive this topic forward about getting the images with nuts?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe we can add one more action item. At least for now, we should definitely do the first upgrade.
To 2.3, I guess, is now, or 2.2.
I don't know exactly
Never
which
mind.
one is,
The newest.
but something that is compatible, I think, at least for now, to start with things. So if someone wants to start working on the Kyma eventing part.
Yes, I have this. Okay, I can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would say most likely the compatible Knative as compared to the newest Knative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's compatible. That's nice.
Okay. Something else on the topic, Gareth?
Yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, so let's jump to the next one. I just wanted to ask how many of us and how many important topics do we have to discuss next week? So maybe we can decide now if the topic will take place next week or not. Because maybe if there are no action, if there are none of us next week, maybe it doesn't make sense to even plan it. I'm definitely there. Who else plans to have something to say? What do you think? Should we have the topic or should we have the meeting or not?
I would skip this meeting the next
Yes,
week.
because
in the next
the
week.
vacation, yes. I will also be on vacation and Marco also.
So
Okay.
I'm here, but at least for now, I don't have a topic. It might come up sometime during the course of the week. But as a side note, I want to kind of start with at least preparing a kind of a proposal about how we want to adopt the Kyma eventing to use Knative eventing and what all the challenges and what all the missing pieces we see, so that we can derive some kind of task and work items out of that. But I don't know if that will be something that will be there by next week or maybe after that. That's something
Okay.
I'll start with.
I definitely agree. We can skip meeting next week.
Mhm.
And I'll take care of that. Okay, and one more thing I'd like to ask you, just notify, is that planning 0.7 is coming soon, and we need to prepare stuff as an input for the planning. And I suggest to prepare what you preferably would like to do on the next for the next release, and let's talk on the next meeting about the stuff you want to pull in or propose on the planning. So there's action item for everyone, and let's revisit it on the next meeting. Prepare tasks input. Okay, that's basically for everyone. And moving to the next point, Marco, you have some stuff for us. Please show it.
Yes, I will show my screen now. Which one? So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a proposal on how to run Kyma eventing on top of Knative eventing. So let's start by the two use cases we want to generally cover. So the first use case is the use case that we currently have, which is having Kyma running on top, Kyma running with NAT streaming included already, and Event Bus is working as usual. So that's the first use case. And the second use case is to run Kyma on top of Knative and also Knative eventing, and have messages going through Kyma to Knative eventing. So we prepared a high-level design for that. So the main idea here is to have the event bus communicating to a provisioner on Knative side that is implementing the Knative eventing abstraction. So we are agnostic about that provisioner. It doesn't matter. It would be Kafka, NATS, whatever. So we are just communicating to a provisioner that's satisfying the abstraction of Knative eventing. So do you see me scrolling, or do you see or not? Oh, okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So if we also take an even higher look on the high-level design, we can see that we can have multiple provisioners at the same time. And event bus can also send messages, and having these provisioners also deliver messages to whoever subscribe. So we thought about how to achieve that. We decided that it's not the responsibility of the event bus to discover whatever provisioners. So it will be like the responsibility of the publisher itself. So when a publisher publishes a message to event bus, it has to specify three things. So basically the source ID and event type we know about. And the third thing would be the provisioner. And we are now talking about Knative eventing. So the first use case, when Kyma is running alone, not on top of Knative, publishers will only use the source ID and event type. But the second use case, when Kyma running on top of Knative, publishers will also need to specify which provisioner it has to the message go to. So if we go also to the proposed development work, we also thought about some arrangements in Helm charts, how to make things optional and mandatory for some use cases. So basically, we thought about restructuring our Helm chart to get like the event bus out of the core components and make it directly under the resources, and also have an extra event bus chart to work with Knative. And when we are installing Kyma, depending on sending Knative running on top of Knative or not, we will either install event bus or the event bus -Knative chart. So that's one part. And also the other part, net streaming, also it will be under the resources directly. Net streaming by default would be included either way Kyma is running on top of Knative or not. But the extra part is when we're running on top of Knative, we also will install net streaming provisioner. So that's one part. So this development section is having some details about how to do that. Also, we documented some of the design decisions that we take and the rationale behind them. So yeah, and also the last section on how to install Kyma on top of Knative eventing. So yeah, that's basically it. If someone have any question.
Yep, first question on my side. Do you have a deadline you'd like us to accept this proposal? Is it finished or is it still work in progress?
So it's in the last centimeters for us to finish this proposal. We are currently having the final rounds for review inside the team, and then it will be for you guys to also review.
Okay, so what's the deadline? Can we agree that we have a time to next meeting in 2 weeks, or is it too short? How do you think? Will it be ready by then?
Yeah, it will be ready by then. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you just can decide how much time do you think it's needed for us to review and eventually reject the stuff and put it somewhere there.
So
Okay.
if I may just add one comment there. So I would believe that considering the vacations in mind, maybe we should have 1 week or some days after people resume work, so that they have time to also look into this thing. So yeah, that's just one suggestion.
So looking at the calendar, it will be let's say 10th of January. How do you think, guys?
It's okay, but this is only a very high level, so that is not in details. I think it's very easy to.
I don't expect work here.
Yes.
I just want to give time for folks to look at it.
Okay.
Is it gonna be using a feature flag?
So it depends on the Knative flag that's sent to the installer. Yeah. Yeah.
And so how will the situation look when there is workload that needs to go through a lightweight bus and one that needs to go through the enterprise bus? Is it gonna be like, for example, is it gonna be per environment? So a specific environment.
No, we have said that the channel provisioner should be decided if you want to have this in parallel by the controlling application, by the not the event bus. Even this is a new parameter as an input, and then we are only using one, for example, in parallel for nets or also for enterprise message service.
Yes. So my question is like, this parameter will be sent by probably the event service.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
For the event service. Okay. So probably in the same local environment that will be, the new name will be namespace. You can only use one of those, right?
No, you can use both. This is not
based on the binding. Which binding?
So, Ahmed, I would imagine that the current API will evolve to accommodate
yes.
this aspect. That let's say there is now another dimension that tells you, okay, you want to use enterprise messaging or some kind of a local low-level, low-quality bus, but maybe there is something by default, and then there is something that can be overridden by some parameter. So I can
I'm just asking. Yeah, I'm just asking because this has implications on the other, let's say, users of event bus, right? So, application connector or whatever.
Yes, we have said
that the API will evolve to compensate that. I can imagine even the eventing API. So I won't even call it the application connector, but of course, if the events are coming from outside, I can imagine that maybe they have this freedom to kind of decide on where they want the event to be persisted.
And we will have a default value if this parameter is not present.
Yeah.
For example, for the marketing, they want to use only enterprise message service, so that they have to specify in the request or in the configuration of the connector that this should be.
Okay. Yeah.
The calls should be enhanced with this parameter, not only the event type and the source ID.
Okay.
So yeah, so the source of the event will have this freedom to choose that wherever they want to persist their events.
Yep. Nice. Okay. Cool.
Okay. Is there anything else?
No, I'll stop sharing now.
Okay. So Marco, if you also could put link to this proposal
Sure.
in the meeting notes, that would be
Sure.
great.
So one comment, I think maybe just to clarify. So the provisioners which Marco talked about, they will be in the Knative eventing namespace. I think this is how the current Knative eventing works.
Yeah.
So any provisioner you create, they will always go into the Knative eventing namespace, but nowhere else.
Yes, and this is not a part of our responsibility to, let's say, to create this. This is a part of Knative.
Yep.
Okay, guys, this was the last point on our agenda. Is there anything else you'd like to mention? Let me share. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
Nope.
Okay, so if everyone's okay, Merry Christmas and have the nice rest of the week.
Thank
you. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you.
See you in New Year.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye,
Have a
guys.
nice vacation.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.